In a poor village, a boy was born. Just like the rest of the inhabitants of that dying village, he spent his days mindlessly, mechanically, and monotonously, having no idea what to do with his life. And one night, he dreamed of the sea. None of the villagers had ever seen the sea, so no one could confirm that such boundless water existed somewhere in the world. And when the young man announced that he was going to go in search of the sea from his dream, everyone raised their eyebrows and called him a madman. But in spite of everything, he set off on his journey and wandered for a long time until he reached a fork in the road. There, he chose the road that led straight, and a few days later he reached a village whose inhabitants led a calm, prosperous life. When the young man told them that he was wandering, dreaming of finding the sea, they tried to convince him that he was wasting his time, and it would be better for him to stay in that village and live as happily as everyone else there. For several years the young man lived in abundance. But one night he dreamed again of the sea, and he remembered his unfulfilled dream. The young man decided to leave the village and hit the road once more. After saying goodbye to everyone, he returned to the fork and this time went in a different direction. He walked for a long time until reaching a big city. He admired its hubbub and vibrancy and decided to stay there. He studied, worked, had fun, and eventually completely forgot about the purpose of his journey. However, a few years later, he saw the sea in a dream again and thought that if he didn't fulfill the dream of his youth, he would waste his life. Therefore, he returned to the fork in the road again and chose the third road, which led him into the forest. In a small clearing, the young man saw a hut, and next to it, a young, beautiful woman who hung out laundry. She invited him to stay with her, as her husband had gone to war and had not returned. The young man agreed. For many years they lived happily, raised children, but one day our hero, who had already grown old, was again visited by a dream about the sea. And he left everything that he had been associated with for many years, came back again to the fork, and set off down the last path. Very steep and rocky, hitherto unknown to him. He barely walked and began to fear that he would soon be completely exhausted. Having ended up at the foot of a large mountain, the old man decided to climb it, hoping to see the sea from his dreams at least from a distance. A few hours later, he reached the top of the mountain with his last effort. Boundless expanses stretched before him. The old man saw the fork in the road and the village in which the inhabitants led a prosperous life, and the big city and the hut of the woman with whom he had spent many happy years. And in the distance, on the horizon, he saw a blue, endless sea. And before his tormented heart stopped, the moved old man realized with tears of regret that all the roads he walked led to the sea, and he just hadn't traveled any of them to the end.